So the cultural schizophrenia, I want to, it's basically like you have one character for yourself, one character in school, one character with your friends, one character with families. So you end up like having almost like more like maybe 10 times bipolar in a sense of like, I mean, I'm talking about cultural sense. This photo is from like Shir Nishad. She's based in New York, but she's an Iranian artist. She focused on the series of Women of Allah on basis of like how the whole new society functioning. And okay, this was the background, but now I want to like talk about how Iranian contemporary art finding its doorstep like outside Iran. Basically, till 2006, barely anyone knew about Iranian contemporary art outside Iran, except like very few collectors in New York or London. 2006, Christie's and Sotheby's and Bonhams, like few world-class auction houses, moved to Dubai. They started doing an auction specialized in Iranian and Arab contemporary art. So this was the moment that actually Iranian artists find a venue to expose. As you know, like in Iran, we don't really have too many tourists, or we don't really have cultural tourism. It's almost like a friend of mine in London called it Dragon Den. Not too many people there to go there, or like at least they don't really know that's what's going on. So it's very unknown parts of the world. So Dubai, as a neighboring country, but with a more like liberal infrastructure, it was a good place to go and showcase. But also surprisingly, in like 2010, Tate Modern announced that in their new wings, they're gonna have a distinct collection of Iranian contemporary art, but also Victoria & Albert and Chelsea Museum at New York. Their patronage of Zayed Museum in Abu Dhabi, UAE. They're also committed to buy and collecting and investing and curating shows. On 13th of November, there will be a show from Middle Eastern art show. Like half of the artists in Victoria & Albert, half of the artists are Iranian. It's going to be on 13th of November to mid-April, I guess. And then, like content-wise, we did not have, like 10 years ago, there was no single book writing in English or any language apart Iranian or Farsi, Persian, writing about like the content of Iranian contemporary art. In recent years, major publication, mainly in UK, they started publishing and like studying and examining Iranian contemporary art. There's an Iranian sculpture like called Heech, or basically Heech means nothing, by Paris Tanawali, exhibiting British Museum like 2 years ago in the Grand Atrium. When I was talking about like the regional market, like Middle Eastern market, surprisingly, like Iranian contemporary art, modern and contemporary art, let's say, they almost like sharing like 50%. This is till 2009. I have some data that it shows it's like 50% of Middle Eastern sales. It's an Iranian. It's from an Iranian, either Iranian born outside Iran or Iranian based in Iran. You see a decrease, and that's because of the credit crunch happened in Middle East, especially like hit Dubai. Dubai is a marketplace for Iranian art. Still, I mean, there are sales in London, New York, Paris, and Zurich, but I would say Dubai is a prominent marketplace for Iranian art. And as you see, like, the next country is almost like 30%. So it's a big difference in the portion market. This is also like 2009. The numbers has changed a bit, but still, this was the last approved from Art Tactic based in London. And surprisingly, as you saw, like how the portion of Iranian arts in the art market in Middle East, like when Christie's opened in Dubai, they were expecting like 30 million US dollar sales in 3 years' time. In 24 months, they earned 100 million. They sold 100 million, and Iranians had like great shares of these sales. So it created a platform, like internet, like these sales from the auction house and exhibitions in Dubai helped Iranian contemporary artists and community to find a platform, international curators looking at Iranian art in a more serious way, in a more critical way. Yeah, and then we have like the regional art fairs that Iranian galleries very strongly, I mean, either Iranian based in Tehran, Iranian galleries based in Tehran or outside, they go and present Art Dubai or Art Abu Dhabi. I would say personally, like, the art fair is still very weak and early stages in Middle East, but as the only international regional things, I mean, in few days there is art contemporary Istanbul that I know, like few Iranian galleries go and present there. So that's the new gateway in Istanbul. But in general, like because I think with Middle Eastern art market, or at least regarding to Iranian art market, there are very strong hardwares like venues, professional galleries, but software-wise, there are not too many professionals working in this industry, and I think it just takes time because it's still very new internationally. This, I mean, here I was just mentioning the geographical distribution, which is 69%. Now it's decreasing for certain reason that I will talk at the end of my presentation. 153 different artists selling auctions since 2006, which no other country in the region reached that number. As here's a graph from like a chart from Art Tactic website based in London. They do confidence research. Top five, like price-wise, I'm talking top 5 Arab and Iranian contemporary auction sales were Iranian, surprisingly. And in terms of modern and contemporary, again, contemporary sales, Iran, modern, 2 other countries sharing the market with UAE and Lebanon. This, I mean, probably is not a very good resolution for us. I could not find due to the copyright. This from Christie's Snap website. This piece, it's at the time, I mean, up to last year, it was the highest price sales for Middle Eastern art ever sold in auction for 2,800,000 almost US dollar by Iranian artists. Like, it's a bronze sculpture, it's a wall, and the wall is very distinctive of distance and separation. This is another piece by Farhad Mushiri. We are all American, going back to the concept of like how, because if just very quick want to add something to the earlier conversation between you and Haro, I think the whole way of looking and the whole contemporary art culture, it is coming from the West, whether we like it or not. I mean, the tradition of collecting in this manner, or like auction in this manner or like exhibiting. I think they're all kind of Occidental trends. I can't find any trend or footprint of this type of like collecting or even observation. The way of we observing contemporary art, it's very Occidental. I can't really find the Oriental footprints. And well, anyway, this is a work by an Iranian, almost like conceptual photographer, painters. I mean, he has various works. This is like the the third expensive piece sold in the auction. And then as a growing market, this graph shows from 2006 to 2008. When I was studying in London back in years, I was looking at this graph and I said like, how is it possible? This is just like, yeah, how is this possible? Like from like this, like $25,000 range, going to almost like 250. It's almost like appeared a bit not healthy to me. I mean, in a sense of like booming or like bubble. Yeah, bubble growing. I mean, because if you look at what exactly happened between 2006 and 2008, nothing major culture happened in Iran. I mean, the artists were there forever. They were, let's say, producing or creating. And everything, I mean, the only thing I could find, it was just like the whole hustle and bustle of Dubai as a, let's say, new cultural hub. But then it's not always increasing. In like almost like last year and a half, due to several problems, the market declining. First of all, it's Iranian international sanctions on Iranian government, disabling galleries, collectors, curators to transfer money to Iran or do any financial. So it would be very difficult and critical for any non-Iranian business outside Iran to deal with Iranian art. Just imagine if you're a gallery based in Shanghai or like, I don't know, New York, you sell a work, you have an exhibition from an Iranian artist, you sell the works, how would you transfer the money back to the artist? How would you? I mean, because there is no connection between bankings. I mean, and this happened like almost a year ago, seriously. So this is one aspect that it's make it very tricky, like the whole way of dealing with Iranian contemporary arts in a sense of like, even like insurance. How would you, it's just like, it's very critical. I personally waiting to see like what would exactly happen after this. Like, and then like we have the currency shrinking, which I will talk about that later. The social politic of the region, let's say in like last 2 years or years and a half, the social politic of the region changed with the Arab Spring and other movements in Middle East. I would say there is less demand to buy Iranian art for the sake of its Iranian versus Arab. So also there is a decline in the market, but also I would say in the last year and a half, there was not equal opportunities for Iranian artists or Iranian shows to present and also approach collectors in the region. And still Iranian arts majorly will sell in Middle East market, either by Arabs or Iranian or Turkish collectors. So when I was talking about like the galleries, like these are like a few galleries that kind of established galleries. They work with on Iranian contemporary art. I was talking to Leila Taqiniya in Art Abu Dhabi a few days ago, and I was asking her, she's like, what exactly you are going to deal with this, like sanctions, and how would you do that? Because it would just like make it seems like it's just almost impossible to. She says like, in this situation, it won't be the story of the gallery and artist. There should be a middleman to kind of connecting, playing as a connecting point between her. That's her personal opinion, not mine. But I'm monitoring them for in next few months and see like how exactly this gallery would survive, presenting Iranian artists. This is like a sculpture that I choose. It's an Iranian palace, like a Persian palace in Tehran, on a pillow. The sculpture is not stable, it's kind of shaky. But then the characteristic of this piece is like, it can shake a lot, but it doesn't collapse. So I find it kind of ironic to put the photo of this work as a material for this. And then at the end of the day, at the end of the, I would like to draw your attention. Is it a good time to buy or collect or invest on Iranian art? Honestly, I don't know, because if it was like 2 years ago, I had an answer, but now it's everything very critical in the sense of like you don't really know what's gonna happen in a year time. But if someone interested to buy Iranian art, contemporary art, we have two types of like artists. The one who established a foreign currency, let's say US dollar or like euros prices, they are safe. I mean, because they have like their own US dollar prices. But there are other artists that I try to show most of their works in this presentation that they don't have a US dollar price. They sell in Iran, they use local currencies. And as I mentioned, like the currency shrinking, like January 2012, only like a few months ago, like 10 months ago, $1 equal to 1,200 Iranian currency. October 2012, $1, 4,400 Iranian currency. As a result, a piece of work that in January would cost you, as an art buyer, $1,000, now in October is $270. So it's a very tricky situation in a sense of like, if you want to invest, I don't think it's a good time to buy young talent Iranian art. But if for the sake of art or for the sake of appreciating a piece of work, Iranian contemporary art was never this affordable due to current situation. And this was my presentation.